Good morning, everyone, and welcome to RIDE 2026 from Nigeria. I'm here to make my presentation titled Advancing Military Higher Education Through Technology-Enabled Learning, an evaluation insight from the Nigerian Defense Academy Distance and E-Learning Center Transformation. I am by name Dr. Sabo Aliyu. Okay, I'm the Acting Deputy Director Academics in the center. So next slide, please. Okay, my presentation overview are as follows. I will not waste much time. Abstract, introduction, context, and background research questions, methodology, findings, discussions, lessons learned, implications for higher education, conclusion, and references. Okay, next slide, please. So the abstract is this presentation is aimed in evaluating, is an evaluative case study of the Nigerian Defense Academy Distance and E-Learning Center, which is established to expand access to postgraduate military education via technology-enabled learning. So this is being guided by the right theme of reflecting, innovating, developing, and envisioning. This study examines the center's implementation process, early outcomes, and lessons learned. So it's a mixed method evaluation approach, and it was adopted involving policy document analysis, stakeholder interviews, staff training feedbacks, and learning management system, LMS, analytics. So the findings here highlight institutional readiness. That's the gaps in the institutional readiness, the infrastructure constraints, and the faculty capacity challenges, while demonstrating significant progress in policy alignment, digital course development, and learner engagement. So at the end, the paper will conclude some practical recommendations for higher education institutions seeking to implement sustainable ODL systems within complex complex organizational environments. So the next slide, please. So introduction now. Higher education globally is undergoing a rapid transformation, which is being driven by digital technologies, and challenging learners is highly needed. So universities are increasingly adopting open and distance learning, ODL, which helps to improve access to education, flexibility in learning, and also scalability of academic programs. For a military institution like ours, which is a peculiar case, this this development are practically important due to the operational commitment of our serving personnel that often limit participation in conventional on-campus study. So in response to this, NDA, which is the acronym of our institution, Nigerian Defense Academy. So NDA establishes the Distance and E-Learning Center in 2025 to support technology-enabled postgraduate education. So the DELC of NDA initiative seeks to transit the academy towards a dual mode institution, which is capable of delivering quality higher education to learners, regardless of locations or duty constraints. So this presentation will evaluate the early implementation of this center, focusing on processes, challenges, and lessons relevant to higher education in Nigeria and in similar contexts. Okay, so the next slide. Okay, this is the next slide. It talks about the context and the background. So our NDA in Nigeria is a Nigerian premier military institution or university, which is responsible for training officers and providing postgraduate education in defense and security-related disciplines. So traditional face-to-face delivery has been the dominant mode of instruction in NDA. However, security deployment, geographic dispersion of personnel, and the need for lifelong professional development created a strong demand for flexible learning options. So our center was inaugurated in February 2025 with a mandate to develop digital courseware, deploy an institutional LMS, train academic staff, and ensure compliance with National University Commission's NUC, ODL standards. So external technical support was provided through a 5-year partnership with a consultant called Coral Consultants to guide institutional design, capacity building, and accreditational readiness. So next slide, please. Okay, the following are the questions that we will be guided with. Number one is, how effective has our center here in NDA implement its initial ODL framework? Also, another significant question here is, what barriers and enablers have influenced the implementation process? And lastly, what lessons can be derived for improving ODL delivery in military and conventional higher educational institutions? So these are the research questions. Next slide, please. Okay. So some descriptive case study was designed and adopted to evaluate our center implementation starting from last year, March to December 2025. And these are the methodology. The first is the data collection, and 3 main sources of data were utilized. Number one is the document review. We analyzed the center's policy document in line with the NUC guidelines and our training reports and implementation plans. Then the next process is the stakeholder interviews, where semi-structured interviews with 12 key personnel, including program coordinators, institutional designers, and administrators was undertaken. Then lastly, the LMS analytics and surveys, where we use statistics from pilot courses and feedback surveys from 65 academic staffs who participated in our ODL training workshop here in the academy. So next slide, please. So the findings here, we found out that for the institutional readiness, the evaluation revealed that the academic leadership commitment was a major enabling factor. So the establishment of our policy, the center's policy, the governance structure, and the dedicated staffing created a foundation for sustainable ODL adoption. However, limited experience with online procedure among many lecturers slowed the initial progress. Then the next findings is the faculty capacity building, where a training workshop significantly has been conducted, and it has improved the staff confidence using the LMS and developing digital content for the course. Then post-training surveys indicate that 82% of the participants felt prepared to deliver online courses after the interventions, compared to only 34 before the training. So lastly is the infrastructure and technology findings, where a module-based LMS was successfully deployed and 12 pilot course modules were developed. Nevertheless, challenges such as bandwidth limitations, inadequate multimedia studios, and intermittent power supply affect optimal performance. So next slide, please. So for learner engagement, early analytic from pilot postgraduate courses showed encouraging levels of participation, with average weekly login rates above 70%. So students appreciated the flexibility access to materials, but however, requested more interactive features and timely tutor feedback. And the key barriers are as follows. The major barrier identified were, number one, insufficient ICT infrastructure, then delay in procurement process, limited instructional design expertise, and lastly, cultural resistance to change among some faculties. So next slide, please. So in the discussion aspect, our center here in the academy our experience confirms that the successful ODL implementation requires more than technological acquisitions. So strong institutional policies, continuous faculty development, and structured quality assurance mechanisms are highly significant. So the military context introduces additional considerations such as security and operational schedules, but this can be managed via tailored LMS configurations and flexible cost designs. Importantly, this initiative demonstrates that military higher education can adopt modern digital learning practices without compromising academic rigorousness or institutional discipline. So next slide, please. So lesson learned are as follows. Several transferable lessons have emerged out of this study. Number one is the first implementation, where gradual rollout of programs allows institutions to test systems before large-scale deployment. The next one is the capacity building first, meaning training academic staff is critical prior to the course migrations. Then the next one is the policy alignment, where early alignment with national accreditation standards will prevent future compliance problems, and stakeholder engagement, where we find out that continuous communication reduces resistance and foster ownership. And lastly, data-driven evaluation, where the LMS analytics provide valuable evidence for decision-making. So the next slide, please. So implication for higher education now. Although our institution is situated in a military academy, so the findings are highly relevant to conventional universities in Nigeria and beyond. So institutions planning ODL transition should prioritize readiness assessment, invest in instructional design units, and integrate evaluation mechanism from the outset. So our center here in the academy our center model in the academy offers a practical roadmap for higher education systems operating in a resource-constrained environment. Next slide, please. In conclusion, the establishment of the center here in the academy represents a significant step towards modernizing military higher education in Nigeria. So early evaluation shows promising progress alongside manageable challenges. So with sustained investment, strategic partnership, and continuous quality assurance, our center has the potential to become a leading model for technology-enabled postgraduate education in the entire continent, Africa. So future research will focus on longitudinal learners' outcomes and comparative analysis of online versus traditional delivery modes within the academy. Next slide. These are my references. Next slide. So thank you very much for listening, and I welcome any questions from the presentation. Thank you.